Kerry, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, Patrick, good to see you.
So great to be with you. Tell me about I love the logo, the background. That's awesome. Many of
Oh,
you, many of you don't know that's the 360. Tell us about that.
well, 365 Connect's been in the space for 18 years, exclusively serving the multifamily industry. So we have seen a lot of twists and turns along the way. We do everything from marketing, digital applications, online leasing, resident portals, and about probably 20 or 30 things in between. So we've got a pretty good handle on the market. We've been at it a while, and we pride ourselves as innovators in the space. We track things and follow demographics, some of the things we're going to talk about today. So I think we have some exciting information to share.
Yeah, no, I always go to you because you have the background as a developer, and I think about like some of the things that you've done over the years just to bring the journey of leasing online. But now, what's really interesting, nobody expected this whole idea. But you mentioned the demographics of what's driving this whole remote workforce. The demographics behind that. I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah. So, Patrick, the last year we've all just been navigating, 2020, we'll call it. I don't know if you can put any particular label on all the things that have taken place. But what's quietly been taking place is a change in the demographics of our renters, our workforce. And actually, Patrick, you and I did a webcast about two years ago on Gen Z, which is what
Yep.
I'm talking about, and the impact that they would eventually have on the rental market. Well, that impact's been happening in a big way, and we've had so many things going on. We've kind of taken our eye off of that a little bit. But just as a refresher, Gen Z is those that were born between 1997 and 2012. Currently, millennials are our largest rental group. They're our biggest market. But Gen Z's in there, and they're rapidly catching up. And I got a couple of stats that I want to share. So our big renter demographics were millennials, Gen X. So Gen Z is now passed up Gen X as the most active renter. There's an index called Renter Movement out there, and Gen Z attributed about 23% to the Renter Movement Index. That's up from about 12% 2 years ago. If we look at millennials, still largest group, they were about 47% of renter movement in 2020, compared to 53% 2 years ago. So, we're seeing quite a shift in the demographics in our renters, and this is our incoming workforce. So it's not just affecting the apartment market; it's going to affect our team members and our employment base.
Yeah, in fact, I earlier in the show we were talking about jobs being the driver of these investments, like job growth, and therefore the risk of building and buying in that market is a leading indicator of that, right? So when people can work remotely and can work anywhere, it's very interesting. It'll be fun to watch how that impacts ability to identify markets and also investments. What are you seeing online? Are people prepared for this? I know we went through a big shift to get into this remote stuff, but you mentioned stuff like operations anywhere. Tell me about what you're thinking.
Yeah. So if we just break down what we're working with, so our oldest Gen Zers now are turning 24 years old. So they're, recently are graduating college, many on a virtual stage now, and they're entering the job market. They're huge advocates for, remote work, and have been, prior to 2020. I read a survey recently on this, and it said that top of their list was remote job opportunities. So, when you kind of unravel that, it's like, okay, we got these physical hard assets in the multifamily space, we've got a workforce that wants to work remote. How do we accomplish this? A funny thing I got to interject here, Patrick, which I didn't know was a thing, was the older Gen Zers identify themselves as Zillennials.
Oh,
my first question was
undecided.
was like, what? Why? Who?
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange. It's actually part of what's called a generation battle, and it's basically the older Gen Zers that kind of sit on the line, and they feel that they've grown up as a digital revolution has evolved versus the younger Gen Zs who are there and they just expect more and more things and more features to happen. So it's pretty interesting. So that's going to be a subject for another day. You and I'll have to team up and talk about Zillennials. I thought they were pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. So thank you. We'll have to.
It's definitely trending. But anywhere operations, so what is that? So it's basically a IT-based operating model, and it's been out there a while, but I think it's really coming to light. It's evolving, and the way we're working now is changing. And what the core of it is it supports customer service, product deployment from anywhere, regardless of your physical location. Now, I think over the last year, we've all done a great job of mastering communication, especially with our offsite team members. We're all talking on Zoom. Microsoft Teams is trending and pretty big in the corporate world. But a thing to keep in mind here is that 82% of companies say that they plan to let team members work remote at least part of the time. They're looking at office space different, that this is going to be more a hybrid workspace, more of like, hey, the office is the hub, it's the brain center, but you can come plug in, work from anywhere. So our environments are changing in our office space. Our team members are going to be more remote than ever. If COVID did anything, I think it taught us all, hey, we can be anywhere and make this work. So companies, what do companies want? They want their teams to be capable of working from anywhere and efficiently and as productive as they would be in their office. So it's kind of a push for anywhere operations to be more mass adopted to accomplish some of these things.
How are they transacting though online? Like if they're at the hub, their operation, and we'll hear later in the show too about some shifts in being forced to do that and what we had to do to stay open. But we're seeing other industries do this. How is the transaction happening though?
Well, what's going on, we're going to break it into two pieces. So let's look at our workforce. So, we might think, well, we're on Teams, we're on Zoom, we're doing great, we're keeping in touch. And those are great, they're communication tools. But at the core of anywhere operations is really something people didn't really think of when they said, hey, get your laptop and go work from home, which was data security. So this is an entire system that is being orchestrated out there to make remote work more secure, more possible, more integrated into what we're doing. So, typical office environment, a firewall usually lives here. You come into office, the network secure. Think of the business we're in. I mean, our company here, 365 Connect, we process applications, payments, and we do it at a pretty good volume. So we're holding a lot of information. So if somebody logs into our system that works here, they're at home, we don't know what the firewall is there. We're now on residential internet. Lot of liability there. A lot of things could happen. So what anywhere operations is, it's more of a network of virtual computers, cloud services, and these are powered actually by firewalls. So it's, forget about that physical device you walk around with, just a way to gain access to your actual network in your computer system that lives in a cloud. It all lives in what's called a security mesh system. And it builds a more modular approach to security. And this is, critical in our industry where we hold a lot of sensitive information at a property level. I mean, think of, logging into your PMS system from your house. It contains all this heavy information, sensitive data, anything someone looking to take somebody's identity would love to have. So it's kind of the crux of we need to be conscious of the infrastructure to have our team members work remote. Now, one thing you're asking is, okay, what's the future? How do we transact business? We have, properties, physical assets, and remote team members, and somebody's got to show up, somebody's got to unlock the door, open the business, somebody might want to see an apartment. So we're still navigating through these things. We've done them in COVID, we've done them pretty well, but I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can't wait till I can go back to the way things were. The problem with the way things were is trending behind us is a huge demographic. Doesn't like to talk, they'd rather text, don't like encountering people. These are your next clients. What do we do? And I know we talk about touchless services, and touchless to a lot of people feels like, hey, that's a COVID thing. That's one day going to go away, and touchless won't be a thing anymore. But I want you to think of something. Companies like mine and other innovative companies in the market, including some of the people you've had on the show that I've been listening to today, Patrick, have been building for demographics. We look forward, and these are called in technology, we call them predictive projects. What's a predictive project? It's a project that we had in motion long before stay-at-home mandates and mask wearing was a thing. So we've been building technology knowing what's coming into the market. We know that market turns over. We know that next generation renter is coming in. And just as we started off here, is going to be that prominent and dominant renter in the market. So that's who we're looking at building technology for. COVID can come and go. And I guess the only thing it did is it did move the needle on technology pretty heavy. But there are things that have been being built before any of this happened, just in knowing what was coming, which is Gen Z, and apparently, Patrick, is Millennials.
It's interesting you say that, because what you said there I liked was we kind of want it to go back to normal. Well, that's a different demographic asking for it to go back to what may be familiar. And yet here you are thinking about, and you mentioned at the opening, this Gen Z, this sort of new customer, or the customer tomorrow that may not want to speak with somebody, that would rather chat or text. I have children, so I can relate to this 100%. I literally did a FaceTime group thing, and everybody was in their room, and we probably had a better engaging conversation. We're all on the same property than we've ever had in person. And what you just said there really rang true. That we need to be building for the demographic, and not necessarily to what's true to maybe today. So doing that, we talked a little bit about that touchless experience. I've got a few notes here. Are people prepared? I know COVID, like you said, accelerated the sort of remote. We've learned to operate differently, but we're not maybe there with some of the things you brought up, like risks and basically getting free office space, you know.
Yeah, I think that, we've done a decent job of, how do we run our team? How do we lock a leasing door and still lease apartments, the door to the leasing center? But, going forward, again, you're talking about kids at home. We have the same thing. Have you ever used Alexa alerts? We use that religiously now. Hey, come in this room, as well as texting. But we have a renter coming in the market, rather text and talk. They're paperless and will walk away if any process gets complicated. Not used to complication. I call them the Uber generation. I want to press a button and I want a car to show up and I want to get in it and then talk to anybody and call anybody to come here and just push buttons. Same way food delivery works. That's the generation that moved food delivery business and Uber. If you go look at who their client base is, that's it, because they're the ones that got it going, and then it just became a thing, and now we all use it. But if you unravel our industry and you look at it, and a lot of people say, well, we're doing a lot of this. Look, digital applications, online leasing, it's been around for over a decade. We've been doing it here for a decade plus. Time flies, but I'm pretty sure maybe it's 12 years or something when all that started coming online. But it all seems to require some sort of human interaction. And I know that's not a bad thing, but I'm talking about somebody's got to put their hands on it at the end of the day. So I think the question the industry needs to ask itself is, how can somebody apply for an apartment, get approved, sign a lease in a matter of minutes, 2 a.m. in the morning? How do you do that? Do you have a system that can do that right now? So in the space right now, Patrick, we're seeing AI automate a lot of processes. And on a global workforce level, AI currently aids about 90% of our workforce in some form or fashion. It automates some process somewhere that makes our job easier. In our industry, we have a ton of repetitive tasks, but an application approval or lease generation usually does not fall into those categories very easily, because there's so many things that have special conditions that somebody needs to take a look at. Somebody gets approved with conditions. What are the conditions? I need a bigger deposit. They need a cosigner. There's a lot of manual pieces involved. So I think those are the things that we really need to look at and say, okay, how can we make these pieces automated, touchless, and move leases, move a lead all the way through the process. I call it search to sofa. How can I go search to sofa and not have to involve a staff member? That's the question we need to be asking ourselves.
Well, you mentioned the lease and the application, and based on the current technology that we have in place, we're asking for more information on the lease just to be able to, or the application just to do the lease, or it seems to me getting a credit card or getting other things that also require risk, a little different than what we're doing, but it's obviously a little easier. Talk to me about the application more.
Yeah, I think the applications, if you look at them and you understand the industry, they have a lot of questions in them, because in most cases it's populating, it's giving you all the information you need to populate your lease, but also onboard someone. Like most applications, like tell us your vehicles and give us your license plate number.
Right.
And I've had some conversations with a lot of people in the industry, and I'm like, what do you do with that information if they don't get approved? It's worthless, nothing. We just have it. We don't know what to do with it. So that's more of a, in my opinion, an onboarding piece. Then I talk to screeners that obviously everybody leans on for the approval of putting people in apartments. How many pieces of information do you need to screen a person? 4, maybe 5, depending on what the client wants. Do you need their car information? No. Okay. You need to know about all their pets? No. Okay. So I go down the list and it's like, no, I need 4 or 5 things.
Right.
So I think what we need to do is we need to reverse the situation. And that's what we've been looking at doing is how can we get someone approved quickly? I understand there's certain things we might need to know, but most of these things can be automated now. I don't think we're ever going to get to 100% pure touchless automation on the application and lease process because there's always some piece. But I think we can get in the 90% range, in the 90s with it. And I think I call them off cases get set to the side and there's someone to deal with them. But would you rather deal with 100% or 7 or 8%? I'd rather deal with 7 or 8%. So I think we have enough stuff. We have enough AI. We have our screening services have gotten incredible out there. They have an incredible amount of databases. I mean, there's more stuff out there about all of us than we even know. And they're hitting certain things based on criteria. So I think we can take the lease process, move it, and turn it into, hey, let's now go build your lease. So you've been approved. And a lot of people want to know that on the spot. And I want to give you, I'm a researcher, Patrick, it's in my nature. But I looked up some research on what people call a response. 90% of customers want an immediate response. I said, okay, what do you call immediate response? Well, it was in the study, 10 minutes or less. So they want to know something right away. So I think most people, and I've had these conversations with screeners, that we can come in, hit 4 or 5 pieces of information and give somebody, they call it retail. This is what the screeners call it. I call it real time. Retail you back, you're approved. And then I think from there, we can go down this process as, okay, what vehicles are you going to park on the premises and get that information as we move to the lease. Now, our leases have a lot of moving parts. And if you go look through all these lease documents or addendums, and what if you have a pet, and what if you have this? I think that can all be automated. I think we're getting smart enough between advanced analytics, AI, automated processes. There's a thing trending out there called hyper automation, and it's the combination of all these pieces. I think we can use hyper automation to get there and get 90+% of this done without a human touch in it. I just heard Demetrius speak before me, plug him in, and we hand him the digital keys. We don't ever have to see them. They don't have to see anyone, which is where this is going and what people want. I mean, we can get on an airline, we can book a plane. We don't see a person till we get to the airport. We don't see an airline employee till we're getting on the plane. We can call an Uber. We can push a button and a car shows up. We don't see anybody. We don't talk to anybody until we get in a car. We need to be able to get in an apartment like this. And this is where it's going to go and where it's heading. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone. Maybe it doesn't work for every property type. But I think over time.
Why is the adoption not there then?
I think when you talk, and we're big into talking to customers, non-customers, if they'll talk to us, but a lot of them do, and a lot of them come to us and want to just brainstorm. And I think that everybody has fragmented processes and they're all a little different. And a lot of people are holding on to some of the older processes. It's kind of, we've been doing it this way for 25 years and it works. We don't want to change it. The thing is we have to look at two facets: the renters coming in the market and the changing workforce. Because 20 years from now, the person that's leasing, that leasing agent's going to be a lot different. It might be a robot. I don't I don't know. But if it's a person, their work mentality and how they want to work is going to be different. And this generation is going to dictate that. And corporate America is moving along with it. I mean, it's happening. So if you just step back and look at what's going on, it's moving that way. Maybe it's not affecting you today, but it's coming and it will. And we need to move toward it. And that's what the technology companies have been doing.
What do you think the next steps a leader should take, with what you're talking about to prepare? Obviously, it sounds like, we didn't have, we had the conditions of COVID to force change. And then we had that change. We realized, wow, that went better than I thought. What do you think on this online adoption here? What would you tell leaders?
I would say don't look backwards. Don't think, well, this is going to be okay now. We can go back to what we're doing. Look forward. Look to the demographics coming in. And if you want something to look forward to, look at what's possibly next, right? So we've had a pandemic. You've had, wildfires in the West that were catastrophic. You've had a record hurricane season. The Arctic is melting. I mean, we have massive changes going on here on planet Earth, and we need to be prepared for what's next. And I would say that don't take your eye off the ball. Don't think outside the box. Keep innovating and keep looking, well, how can I do this better? And if anything, look at some of the effects it might have on your bottom line. If you can use your people in a better way and also have better retention on your team members, it's a huge thing. Turnover costs a lot of money. So if you can utilize people different, better, create other categories in your company for growth, because you can use automation to take care of some of these, repetitive things, or think outside the box and say, okay, this thing's got 10 different variables that can happen to it. Well, what are those 10 variables? Let's get some AI to learn it, and we can take care of the 10 variables. So think outside the box, pair up what's going on, give some information on what you're doing to some of the tech companies, and walk through the processes and how you envision it coming out. So I would say collaborate.
Yeah. And you have an inside look, because not only from the perspective of being a real estate developer, but also building technology. I mean, you built it to solve your own problems first, right? And now it's a great tool, and that's helpful, having the sort of the needs of what a customer would look like. Tell me what you're building today. What are you excited about? And how are you helping people move through some of those things you're asking them to do?
We've been listening to problems people have and seeing if they work at scale. And a couple of things that we've adopted recently is, with COVID, a lot of people came that were doing what I call paper and said, wow, we got to go digital in a hurry. But just looking at some of the processes, so we kind of tore apart what we were doing, rebuilt some things. Some of the cool things we've been able to do is if somebody's applying for something online, on an application online, typically on the other end, that unit's still available. So we've been able to build some technology that says, hey, this is reserved at the moment. It won't allow you to apply on it. You can set timers on it. We rethought how we can make things flexible and pop out some of these bulky things because we're working our way to scale it down, make it real easy. And if you want to talk about anywhere services, we want to make it available anywhere, just not on our website or in our stack. We want to be able to make things more fluid, more available. Maybe you want to apply for an apartment that you saw on Facebook. Why can't I do it right there? So that's what excites us is we're starting to create some things. And then as we're building them, we're creating really advanced analytics. So we are building analytics, I call it for tomorrow, to get big picture data, some data points that maybe you can't get in what you're currently doing. But also, if you want to get real finite with it, you can drill down and get more and more deep in the woods if you really, really want to. But we think there's enough surface data to help people make decisions. So I call it actionable analytics. I want to give people data they can take action on.
That's interesting. What are we've got a little bit more time here. What are some questions I should be asking you that I'm not asking you?
I think, we need to look at some of the things we are doing well, that as an industry. And so if you would ask me that, I'd tell you that I think we're doing pretty well at automating marketing. I think we're doing pretty well. I think it could all use some other pieces behind it. And I'm working on those, by the way. But I think we do pretty well once that residents living there, as far as paying rent. I mean, look at the digital rent payments that have just skyrocketed now through COVID. Now people are doing it, they're used to it. And we're doing better. It helps you collect money faster. So I think we're doing good at things like payments and online service requests and communicating with our residents. I think what we're talking about today, or what I'm trying to relay, is we've got a real gray area on the in-between. I call it the onboarding process. So I've, found you online. I like your community. I'm applying for an apartment. Now from there to I'm moving my furniture through the door is where it gets very, very gray process, and it's very fragmented. And I think that's a piece we need to focus on that we're not doing well with. I also think, Patrick, one of the things, and you and I have had some in-depth conversations, is about team members. I'm seeing, what are we doing? What are we doing well? Well, you've been the accelerator to best places to work. You started that movement in our industry, and I'm seeing more companies that are excited about that, being a best place to work, treating their team members, right, giving them great opportunities. And it's becoming more of a thing. And I think that our industry is getting really, really good at the team, taking care of their team members, huddling up, I call it, more often. Hey, how's everybody doing? Do you need any resources? What can I do? I think it feels more a team effort than ever before. And I've been in the industry for, a long time. As you say, prior, I've been, doing tech for 18 plus years. And prior to that, I came from developing apartment communities, large apartment communities throughout the southeastern United States. So when I tell people that I know the business from the ground up, I'm actually not kidding. I really do.
The dirt ground, right? This has been awesome. We're coming up on the end of our time here, Kerry. Are there any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers?
I think we, are all moving in the right direction to leave things on a positive note. And I think it's about collaborating and innovating, and, not thinking that, man, there's some things I want to know, but I really don't want to call this company because, I don't want to get sold anything. Our philosophy is we don't want to sell you anything that you don't want. To me, the collaboration is more valuable than making a sale. If we can build the right things as partners in the industry, then and move things forward for everyone, then that's the thing to do. So I would encourage more collaboration between property operators and industry providers.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And especially as my point earlier was, this is where the innovation is happening, and you just can't build everything yourself. So you need to do that. And there's definitely that balance there. So awesome note there, Kerry. Great to see you. Always bringing the value. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you on the next show.
All right. Thank you for having me today, Patrick.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right. Bye.